it's not uncommon that you might want to send a post or some other kind of request and attach extra data to that request without having a form. That's why HTMX offers another attribute, which we haven't seen thus far, which allows you to add extra values to an outgoing request body. And that's the hx-vals for values attribute. hx-vals allows you to define some data that will be attached to the outgoing request body. Now, if that request would be sent based on some form, so if hxPost would have been added on a form instead of a button, then any values specified here would have simply been merged with that form data. In our case here, though, we don't have any data to begin with. We have no request body, and therefore the values defined here will make up the entire request body in the end. Now, hx-vals works such that you define any extra values that should be added to the outgoing request by specifying some JSON data here. So data formatted in the JSON format. And we do this here even though the incoming data will not be parsed as JSON. It will be parsed as form data, because HTMX will translate and transform that JSON data here to form data for that outgoing requests. But to make it easy for us to define the data, we must use the JSON format here. That's how HTMX works. And therefore, I actually will use single quotes here because JSON formatted data requires key names to be wrapped with double quotes. And I want to add a new key here because I want to add a location ID key, because that's what I'm looking for in the request body in this post route. So location ID is the key name, and it must be wrapped between double quotes when using hx-vals, because that needs such a JSON formatted piece of data. Now then we set a value for that key by adding a colon here, and then the value could be a number, or in my case here, it should be the ID of a place, which actually will be a string, and that then also must be wrapped with double quotes. But I can now dynamically inject the concrete ID by accessing my location and accessing the ID property there. This location object I'm receiving here as an argument will have that ID property, because all my locations, which I provide as dummy data to you, have IDs. So that will set this extra data, which will then be merged into the outgoing request body. And therefore, with that done, we're making sure that a post request with that extra data here will be sent to the backend. And that should therefore make sure that this post route here gets triggered and we're able to add the place to the interesting locations array.